Lab 6, Part 6. This is the final required part. It's easy. I'm assuming that you've got the patch set up, and the only cable I'm showing you is this one, which you have set right now. You're coming out of one of the row 1 outputs and into the quantizer, and then on from there and so forth. Here's what you're going to do. Unplug it from the quantizer and plug into input 1 of the switch. Then take another cable and go from either row 2 output into input 2 of the switch. Then take either output, they're both the same, and come into the quantizer. You can do whatever you want, but here's what I do. I call stage 1 on this manually and hit play. So now I'm only hearing row 1. And at this point, you're also sending gates from one of these things, okay? So it's not droning, just to be clear. So I'm only hearing row 1, and I already know that I like that the way it's set, but you can make a change. Then manually call stage 2, and while it's playing stage 2 over and over, move the knobs so that you like what you're hearing. Then when you like what you're hearing, take gate 1, and you're going to put this into the shift input, but something I always do is I always run gate 1 into a mult, because you end up using gate 1 very often for more than one thing, because there's all kinds of things that's good for. So I tend to run into a mult, you don't have to, and then into the shift, and now it's going to play row 1. Stage 1 light will be lit up, and then when it gets back here again, this stage gate fires, it shifts and goes to row 2. Now you have a 16 stage sequence. So something that you can do while that's playing is, besides changing the value of the knobs, and because of the quantizer, they will stay chromatic, you can mess around with the switches on the quantizer to put it in and out of different scales, or have it change back and forth to, triad only, or so on. And especially what I showed in class is you can mess around with these mode knobs. And there's a couple that you might get confused on. It's fine. For instance, I showed you the unmarked 4th position that puts it into reset. If you put stage 2 into reset, it's just going to make it play stage 1, stage 1, stage 1, stage 1. So you'll get one note, but the gate will still be going. That's what I showed you in that Tangerine Dream soundtrack for that movie, when it's just going dung, 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 dung. And at that point, you could grab the filter, frequency, and resonance and mess around, and it'll sound cool. You could take your low-pass output, instead of coming into your VCA, you could come into your spring reverb. Yeah. And if you do use this, you can mess around with it. But I find both controls cranked all the way up actually doesn't sound very good, doesn't work. Both controls up at around 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock is going to give you the most reverb, if you want that much reverb, okay? So there you go. That's the last required part.